thanks a lot for joining me. I'm excited to spend some time with you talking about the fireproof way to stop your money from disappearing. And I would like to start off by asking you a question, and I want you to respond to me in the chat box. If you had all the money in the world, what would you be doing? And I'm not talking about a career, I'm talking about what are the things that, or the lifestyle that you would be living? What would you aspire to do? So I would love to see you. So I see you. Travel, I've got some farming from Billions Consulting. That's awesome. Traveling the world. What else? Also farmer, love nature. Yes, what else? Give me some indication of what you would be doing. What do I see here? So I have quite a few traveling coming through here. Definitely traveling. Yes, quite a lot of interesting things coming through here. So let me share with you what I would be doing. And yes, I can confirm what most of you said. If you have to ask me that question, I would definitely be traveling. And I think that is also something that I have been doing quite extensively. And that was something that I wanted to do since I was a small girl. That was basically one of my aspirations. And I always said when I'm big, I want to travel the world. And there you can see some of my traveling pictures. My sister and I have traveled quite extensively, and you can see some pictures there. It's visiting Wimbledon, and we had a white Christmas holiday skiing in Austria. There's some pictures there of the Maldives, where you can see there we did an undersea walk in Mauritius, visiting Italy, doing some quad biking there in Dubai in the desert, also visiting both Euro Disney as well as Hong Kong Disney. And I truly believe that when it gets to money, you need to have a why. You need to know what are those things that you would really love to do. And once you know what your why is, then it becomes much easier to manage your money more effectively and to make better money decisions, because you know what you ultimately want to achieve. You have that ultimate goal, and that could be anything. It doesn't have to be traveling or farming. It could be something that you want to leave a legacy. You want to give your children a good education. You want to be able to retire comfortably one day. You want to be able to open a business, or whatever that might be for you. Once you have that why, and your why is becoming stronger than all the obstacles that you might be facing, or whatever your current situation is, then that why is almost giving you enough reason to make sure that you put the measures in place in terms of your money management so that you can achieve those goals. So just to give you a little bit of background for those of you who don't know me, just to give you so I'm Renelle Uester. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, and I've spent 14 years in the large listed corporate world, basically working with all the top 4 banks, insurance companies, investment companies, before I have started my own financial consulting and training company called Financially Fit Life towards the end of 2015. And that is really what I can use, all that experience and expertise and knowledge that I've gained during those years working with the large listed companies in terms of how they manage their money, and also to understand the financial markets and the financial products. And it is all of that experience and knowledge that's currently helping me to provide a good quality service to my clients. So I do financial consulting and training for businesses as well as individuals, and also accounting and tax services for both individuals as well as businesses. Then I'm also the author of the book Financially Fit and Wealthy, and I'm the co-owner together with my sister of Physique Fit Guest House in Centurion. So that is just to give you a little bit of background. But what will we be talking about this evening? So we will be talking about the 3 reasons why your money seems to disappear, why you cannot rely on a single salary or income source, how to safeguard your finances even during a pandemic, as well as instantly transform your budget into a wealth creation tool. Now, the reason I have shared those traveling pics with you is just to demonstrate to you that what I'm talking about this evening is really things that I am very passionate about, and things that I believe have really helped me personally to achieve my financial goals in life. And you would see that none of these are very difficult type of things, but it is, and a lot of the things you will actually know, but it is quite often that you would find that people are not applying these things, even though they might know it, or they are not applying it consistently. And that is all about whether you shouldn't just know about something, you should be applying that consistently and constantly working on your financial goals and your financial fitness and wellness. So if we go into the 3 reasons why your money seems to disappear, the biggest reason there quite often is that people spend more than what you earn. And if you look at the stats, then you would see that 77% of people have no money left at the end of the month. Now, these stats were provided prior to lockdown, and I'm pretty sure if you are doing these research studies now, these stats will most likely look worse. Now, what's happening there is that people just basically spend, they do not earn enough to justify their spending, and when it gets to month end, when they receive their salary or their income, they actually use that to repay their debt or the expenses that they have already incurred in the previous month. And that is becoming a very negative cycle, because you never seem to make progress with your financial situation, because you constantly spend too much. And then also, people quite often don't spend time on managing their money and educating themselves about money. If you think about it, we haven't been taught about finances and financial management at school or at university. And I can even vouch for that, being a chartered accountant myself. To basically study accounting is still vastly removed from being able to manage your money effectively. And if we just look at the stats there, South Africa scored 51 out of 100 on the financial literacy index. Now that basically implies that we have a very average knowledge base of the average or the basic financial concepts out there. And you would also find that people are, you know, when they want to, for example, lose weight or something, they will go and they will really study that and see what's the best diet and what's the best exercise program for them so that they can lose weight and achieve their goals. But you will quite seldom find that people would really spend some time and educating themselves more about money and investments and financial freedom, and just spending time on looking at their finances in general. And then there's also this misconception that also, and I think the media is also responsible for creating that conception or that misconception, is that people would think that to create the ideal lifestyle, you need to spend a lot of money and incur a lot of debt so that you can live the lifestyle that you aspire to, or that you want for others to see, kind of that this is how you are living your life. And this is actually resulting in why 19 million of credit South Africans are credit active, of which 11 million are over indebted. And if you convert those stats, then you will realize that 53% of South Africans are over indebted. So if we take 3 of us attending this webinar this evening, it would mean 1 out of the 3 of us would be over indebted. And it's basically these concepts that provide the reasons why people's money just seems to disappear, and it seems that people are not making financial progress. Now, why is it that you cannot rely on a single salary or a single income source? If you have to look at what do billionaires have in common? Now, this was a very interesting study that they have done or they've conducted on many billionaires across the world. And what I found in terms of what they all have in common was that they all have at least 5 different investment types and at least 7 sources of income. Now, you can maybe just reflect a little bit about your current situation, and you can maybe give me not there in the chat box, where are you in terms of having 5 different investment types and 7 sources of income? And if we just think about that, then we realize that the important thing about this is that the bigger the gap is between your income and expenses, the richer you will get. So listen again to this. The bigger the gap between your income and your expenses, the richer you will get. And this is exactly what the billionaires are doing. They are constantly creating more income sources, additional income streams, so that they can basically build more income and ultimately grow that gap between their income and their expenses. Now, why is it so important that you cannot only rely on a single salary or income source? If you think about what happened now with lockdown, where many people have been impacted in terms of either their income being reduced, or a lot of job losses, or some of them haven't received any income at all, there you could see that the people who had or experienced a lot less stress during this period were the people who had multiple income sources, and when one income source was affected, they could still rely on the other income source to carry them through. And another reason is also that the economy, not only in South Africa, but worldwide, is struggling. And so would businesses. A lot of businesses are really struggling. And we've also seen during this period that a lot of businesses are in fact closing down. Now then, what will result because of these businesses and the economy struggling is you would see more and more retrenchments or job losses coming through, or people who are business owners sometimes having to close their business. And again, if you only rely on your salary as your only source of income, then this will have a big impact on you. But not only that, you also need to think about a situation where if something has to happen to you, and we do not always want to think about these things, but if something like a car accident or an illness or something has to happen and you cannot work and earn an income, you need to think that how will you be able to survive if something like that has to happen to you? And again, if you have more than one income source, and specifically if you have passive income sources, that will really help you during a situation like that to still survive. And then there is also the increase in living costs. Over time, you would find that that increase in living costs actually exceed your increase in your income in terms of your salary increase or your business income, how that is growing. If you compare that to what is really happening with your living costs, then you would see that gap is actually narrowing over time. And then you also need to remember that in terms of inflation, and the inflation, what they are quoting as the inflation rate, maybe between 3% up to maybe 6%, is not, or quite often, that is not the real scenario or situation for you. If you go and really look at how your expenses are increasing from one year to the following year, you would find that that increase is quite often more than 10%. If you just think about the expensive things like your insurance, your medical aid, those kind of things quite often increase with at least 10%. And then also your kind of normal things that you are buying, your food, water and electricity, all those things quite often have a bigger increase, and then your increase in your income is over time not really keeping up with that increase in your living costs, and that is actually making you poorer unless you then have more income sources or you create additional income so that you can consistently grow that gap. So if we have to look at how to safeguard your finances even during a pandemic, what are the important things for you to apply and to make sure that you have these things in place? First of all, it is not about how much you earn, but how much you keep. So that is a very, very important concept to understand and to apply, because what the example that I'm always using is that if you think of maybe the boss of the company, he is earning 100,000 a month, but he spends 98,000 of his 100,000 he actually spends to repay his debt, to pay for his monthly living costs, and he's actually just keeping 2,000 rand a month. If you compare that to his secretary, she's earning 20,000 a month, so a lot less than what he is earning, but she's only spending 10,000 a month, and she's actually keeping 10,000 a month. Then you need to ask, who is in fact the wealthier or the richer of the two of them? And that is actually the secretary. Even though she might be earning less, she is managing her money much more effectively, and she's over time actually creating more wealth for herself than what the boss is doing. And that is very important to remember. And this is where it comes in that you need to have an effective budget in place. And the reason I'm highlighting the word effective is because that is crucial when it comes to budgeting. A lot of people would often tell me that they do have a budget in place, but then it is simply something like a list of expenses, or they are just having some ballpark figure in their head, and those kind of things do not count as having an effective budget. You need to really understand and apply the important principles of having an effective budget, because only once you do that, then you are in a position to create wealth for yourself. Because and people also quite often think that a budget is only restricting them. If they have to live on a budget, then they cannot really live their dreams, they cannot really live the lifestyle that they aspire to, and that is completely wrong. You need to change your mindset and your perception when it comes to budgeting, because you can really use a budget so effectively in your personal financial situation. And for the people who are following me, you would know that I am very passionate about a budget, because I have just seen in my personal financial situation how valuable a proper and effective budget can be. And a budget was really, to me, the foundation layer and that very crucial concept to help me to be able to travel the world. Because yes, for internal, you need to think about the things that you are really passionate about, and that takes you back to that first question that I've asked, and you actually need to plan for that and include that as part of your budgeting process. And once you start implementing these effective principles, then you will see that a budget can actually help you to achieve those financial goals and dreams that you do have. Then the second very important aspect to safeguard your finances is to be in a position where you have sufficient cash flow as well as sufficient investments in place to be able to help you survive during something like a pandemic or any other extreme events happening in your life, and the same with an emergency fund. And I think we have, again, during this pandemic, we have really seen how important it is to have an emergency fund in place and to have sufficient cash in place, because the people who had those things in place were the people who had a lot less stress during this pandemic, because they had something that they could fall back onto. And this is also, again, where I'm thinking about effective budgeting. If you apply effective budgeting techniques, then you will see that to building up some investments and some savings is actually part of an effective budgeting process. And that's why I'm saying budgeting is not only about managing your expenses. And the same with an emergency fund. If you ever do my effective budgeting online course, you will see that there's a technique in terms of how you should actually build up an emergency fund by using your budget effectively. And then the same with knowledge, that you need to have sufficient knowledge, investment knowledge in place to be able to start your investment journey. And once you have those investments in place, you would see that you would actually start having peace of mind, because you can face things like a pandemic, but you can also over time create some wealth, create more financial freedom, and you can actually get to a point where you can achieve those financial goals that you have listed on that first slide. And then the other very important thing to think about is to really create more income and multiple income streams. This is just extremely important and something that you need to start thinking about. And I think especially in South Africa, with all the uncertainty happening, the more income streams you can have, irrespective how small some of them might be, that can only grow over time and help you in the future. Now, there's pretty much two ways in terms of how you can create more income or create multiple income streams. One way would be what we refer to as an active way. So this would be where you, for example, you work really hard, you perform well at work, or you study and you can get a promotion so that you can get a bigger salary. You can also work some overtime, or maybe have a second job so that you can get more income. You can also have a sideline hustle, and more people are starting to do this now, where they are having a sideline hustle and grow it over time until a point where they can actually move out of their current job or career and start applying that sideline hustle on a full-time basis. And you can also, if you have a hobby where maybe you are good with art, or you're enjoying art or cooking or gardening or whatever your hobby might be, is to basically convert that hobby into a money generating hobby, so that you can actually earn money by doing your hobby. Now, the other way that you can earn income is the passive way. Now, if we think of ways in terms of how you can actually earn passive income, that would first of all be, and this is probably the biggest one, is by having investments. So where you either have investments in cash or unit trusts or shares, tax-free savings accounts, all those different types of investments, and you are actually earning an investment return on those investments. Because why is it passive? You are not spending any time on to earn those returns. You are literally investing in that asset type, and you are earning a return on that. There again, just be cautious of very high risk investments. I know specifically during this time, I see a lot of people, because they are desperate to earn some money or to have some money to survive or to repay their debt, and then they invest in very high risk type of investments where they have the potential to lose the money as well. And if you are kind of in a desperate situation, then investing in a high risk investment is not a good investment decision to make. So be cautious of those kind of things. But another option would also be that you can invest in property, and especially if you can have a property rental agency that's managing the property on your behalf, and you can earn rental income. So that is another source of passive income. And then another category to earn passive income would be to start a business or to invest in a business, but obviously not a business that is requiring you to work 24/7. That is not a passive income source. So if we think about it, what is kind of the one thing that's making the active type not that ideal is the fact that it is time consuming. With all of those things, you need to actually spend time to earn that income. And if you think about it, you have limited capacity in terms of time. You can only work so many hours a day, only 7 days a week. And you also don't want to be in a position where you need to work 24/7 to make a living, because then you are actually never have time to really live the good lifestyle that you dream about, and to really fulfill those goals that you have set in that first slide, because you are just spending all of your time to try and make a living. While with passive income sources, This is actually where you can have time freedom. And this is why over time you want to start creating more passive income sources for yourself, so that you can start having more freedom when it comes to time, so that you can literally go on holiday, you can go travel, you can spend your weekends with your family, or you can go play golf or do whatever you enjoy doing, and you are actually earning money while doing this. So this is actually the ideal situation where you want to be, so that you can, in terms of those multiple income streams, so that you can have a couple of multiple income streams that's actually providing you with passive income. So something really important that you can start thinking about: how are you going to add more income streams that's specifically focusing on passive income? And then to go into the last thing that's really important to fireproof your finances is to instantly transform your budget into a wealth creation tool. And this is where I said to you that budgeting is not only about managing your expenses or stop you from spending. A budget is actually much more than that. But the one way that you can really make your budget or transform your budget into a more effective budget is that you should not only have a budget that you maybe compile once a year and it looks something like this: income less your expenses equals your excess or your shortfall. And there, yes, a budget should include your income as well. A budget is not only about expenses. So you want to then, the second very important thing that is really transforming your budget into an effective budget is where you are actually measuring your actuals against your budget. So this is where, if you have compiled a budget, then at the beginning of the year, then at the end of every month, you want to go and basically capture your actual income and your expenses, and you want to measure that against your budget and see how you are doing, so that you know, are you actually overspending? Should you maybe cut some expenses? Or in terms of your income, are you falling short with your income? Are you constantly ending up in a shortfall position where your expenses are exceeding your income? Because then you want to investigate that and you want to change that position. That is not an ideal position that you want to be in. Or if you are in an excess position where your income exceeds your expenses, then you know that is the ideal position, and that is what you want to do going forward. And then also the budget for wealth creation. What is so important, or how can you really transform a budget from only being a budget to really help you to create wealth over time? And that is all about your income less your expenses equals your excess or your shortfall. And like we've said, if you do end up in a shortfall, you want to go and analyze that and see what is causing for you to end up in a shortfall position, and then you want to improve on that by either increasing your income or reducing your expenses. But if you are in an excess position, you actually want to, over time, you want to grow that gap between your income and your expenses. Because the more you can grow that gap, the more you can be able to build wealth. And this is coming back to what we said, that it's not about how much you earn, but how much you keep. So it's all about managing that gap between your income and expenses, and to grow that gap over time. And how do you do that? You create more income sources, because you can obviously manage your expenses more effectively, but you can only manage your expenses up until a certain point, and then you will have to start creating more income. And obviously, the bigger excess you have there, the more money you have available, you can obviously use that money to start investing, to grow your investment portfolio. And together with the fact that you are growing your investing or investment portfolio and actually building wealth, you are also start earning more income. And remember what we've said about investment income, that is passive income, and that is what you actually want to achieve. You want to grow your passive income streams, because that will eventually get you to a position where you can have more financial freedom. So very important to think about these things and to grow that gap within your budget, so that you can start creating more wealth for yourself. Now, if we go, you have listened to me now for quite a while, so I would like for you to tell me in the chat box, who of you is keen to learn how to stop your money from disappearing and start creating wealth and financial freedom, so that you can start achieving those financial goals like traveling and farming and spending more time with your money or with your family, and start doing all those things that you really aspire. Like Rainier said, I want to visit Disney, I want to purchase more properties. Who of you would really like to know and learn how can you be able to do those things? I see lots of would love to, yes pleases coming through. So let me share with you something that I have available in terms of my online courses that can really help you to get there and really start building more wealth and create financial freedom. So I want to share with you the courses, the online courses that I have available. These are, like I said, it's online courses, so you can do it in your free time, in your at home, whenever you have availability. So first of all, the effective budgeting online course. So this is 1 hour of video tutorials. It's in short of about 3 to 12 minutes each module or video. So it doesn't take up a lot of time, but it is all about teaching you how to transform your budget into an effective budget, how to really be able to apply effective budgeting techniques in your personal financial situation, but in a practical way. Now, this course will totally change your perception of budgeting in terms of what you think a budget is all about. You will most likely, most people doing this course would tell me that they found some savings in their budget while doing this course. You will also be receiving a workbook that can help you to practically apply these principles in your personal financial situation. You will get a budgeting template, which is an easy to apply Excel template that you can use and customize a little bit for your situation. So it's easy to use, and it's really set up in a way that you can have an effective budget. And you will also be receiving a certificate of completion at the end of this course. And this course, like I said, it's all about implementing effective budgeting techniques. But then you will also be receiving the second course, which is the Master Investments 101 online course. And these two courses will really help you to basically apply the things that we have been talking about this evening in terms of stop spending and start investing. So this is also about 1 hour of video tutorials, and it's really to help you to make the investment terminology much easier so that you can really understand the investment world out there. We are also explaining the key considerations that you need to take into account before investing. So when you want to maybe start investing in properties or unit trusts or whatever, you need to know what you need to look out for. What are the right questions that you need to ask before you start investing? And we are going into more details into cash investments, tax-free savings accounts, shares, unit trusts, as well as properties, the pros and cons. What are the things that you need to know about these investment types? And then also how to become a good investor. What are those things that the really smart investors, what do they know and how do they apply it, and how can you also apply those things to become a good and smart investor? You will also be receiving a workbook as well as a certificate of completion, and the aim with this course is to help you to be in a position so that you can make powerful investment decisions yourself. But then lastly, I will also be adding as an additional bonus my award-winning book, Financially Fit and Wealthy, and that book is literally talking from the beginning why you need to be financially fit, talking about budgeting, investments, the different investment types, debt management, retirement, insurance, all those different aspects, but it is really written in a very easy to understand way. So everybody, it's easy to read, it's not difficult or not complicated jargon. So if you think in terms of the value, how much value can you typically receive from these products, or what will you be paying out there if you have to go buy it? Then you look at about 1,650 for the effective budgeting course, 1,950 for the investments course, and 200 Rand for my book. So that gives you a total value of 3,800 Rand, but you will not be paying 3,800 Rand. If you go and have a look on my website, you will see that I charge on my website 1,897 Rand. But because you are attending this webinar, I always have a special package for the people attending my webinars. So you will also not be paying 1,897 Rand. You will only pay 997 for this package. So it's basically the effective budgeting online course, the master investments online course, as well as my book, my ebook format, and you will only be paying $997 for it. So what's also important, the first 3 people who are paying for it will also be receiving a 30-minute one-on-one consulting session with me for free. It's worth 950 Rand, and there we can discuss all your questions in terms of your personal financial situation, how you can improve that, how you can apply some of these course, what you've learned from the course. And this offer is only valid until Monday, the 14th of September at 7 o'clock in the evening, Monday, 14th September. And there is a 14-day money-back guarantee. If you are not receiving the value from it, or you believe this is not for you, then I will fully refund you with your money. So you are most welcome to contact me. So then, let me just, so then there's also, then you need to use this link. If you are keen on taking up this offer, it's financiallyfitlifeacademy.com/WOS. So I will also be sharing it in the chat box. So you need to follow this link if you want to make a purchase, because this is only available for the people attending my webinar. If you go directly to my website, you will see the 1,897 Rand, which is the higher price. This special price is not available to the public. So please use the link that I've put in the chat box. And then some testimonials of people who have recently completed this course. Paul said, for the first time, I had a proper budget in place when my tax specialist asked. Now you can go have a look on that link. You can read their full testimonials. This is just the summary. Jutui said, it's amazingly insightful. And Diane said, I wish I had done this earlier. So these are just some of the testimonials of people who have done the budgeting and investment course now recently. And this brings me to the end of this presentation. There is my email address if you want to contact me or have any further questions. You are more than welcome, and you are also welcome, if you have more questions, to give it to me in the chat box. Hopefully I haven't missed any questions during the talk, but yeah, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that it added some value, that you have learned something, or that it just triggered something in you that you can go back to your personal financial situation and go and apply these things, and that it will really help you to fireproof your finances, and that you can get to a position where you have financial fitness, financial freedom, you have some wealth, and you can actually start your investing journey. You can start creating more wealth, and you can work towards a place of financial fitness where you can actually achieve those financial dreams that we were talking about in that first slide. So if you are keen on doing my courses, please go to that link and get yourself one of these courses. It will definitely help you. I'm convinced it will. But thanks a lot for spending the time with me. I hope you have enjoyed it and learned something. And I want to wish you well and good luck with your financial journey.